Hey, everybody. This is Sharika Matthews of Live Life Beyond Barriers. I hope you guys have had a wonderful Memorial Day holiday today. You were able to get out into the sun, enjoy the day, be around friends and family, or just simply rest and relax. I know that today, this whole weekend, has been such a powerful, relaxing, peaceful weekend for myself, and I really do hope you guys have had the same experience as well. So I want to welcome you to another edition of Soulful Conversations today. And today, I want to really talk about how we think about ourselves. We all know we should have a certain level of esteem, a certain level of confidence. But one thing that I see that's prevalent, especially among women, this is something that I struggled with for a while as well, is that we don't think as highly as we should of ourselves. We have kind of taken it as a badge of honor to think of ourselves as less than. We have taken it as a badge of honor to think of ourselves or to not taunt our gifts or not taunt our talents and things like that. So we actually tend to shrink back from who we really are. So what I want you guys to understand, or really to take away from today's conversation, is that how you think of yourself really affects how you show up into the world and how readily you'll be able to receive your blessings and your miracles and your overall health and happiness. Because if you don't think that you deserve to receive the things that you desire, if you don't think that you deserve to receive the blessings that you really desire, are you really going to be in a position to receive it? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So, hey, Ladavia, did I say that right? Ladavia, help me out. But thank you. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit the share button, because I'm gonna give you several really good nuggets here, and I know if it's going to be a blessing to you, it's probably going to bless at least 3 of your friends. And for those of you who are new to me, my name is Sharika Matthews of Live Life Beyond Barriers, and I am a life and relationship coach by title. But what I really do is that I really go in and I teach and I coach and I serve women who have really lost a sense of who they are behind the corporate climb, behind their roles, behind their relationships, and they're really ready to get back to the core of who they are and walk powerfully and unapologetically down the path that was uniquely designed for them. So that's it. That's essentially what I do, and I do that through things like this, through Soulful Conversations. So again, we're going to talk about tonight how to raise your level of thinking about yourself. Because what holds us back, especially with women, is that we think if we think higher of ourselves, and we are being egotistic, that we are being arrogant, that we are being elitist. And that is not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is actually claiming and being proud of exactly who you are. Thinking highly of yourself does not require you to put anybody down. It doesn't require you to say, I am above somebody else or somebody else is beneath me. It does not require that. So Davy, like David. Okay. All right. I like that. Thank you for that explanation. So, we want to take this context of thinking highly of yourself and put it in the proper context. So when you think about the opinions you have of yourself, like how do you think you look? What do you think about your abilities? How smart are you? How capable are you? Do you know exactly what your gifts and your talents are? And are you okay with saying that I am beautiful, I am smart, I am intelligent, I am brilliant, I am fully capable? Are you okay with saying that? And when people give you compliments and say, oh, wow, you are really smart, or wow, you are really brilliant, or wow, you are this, you are that, do you actually receive those compliments, or do you play it down? Because when you begin to play it down, then it affects your thinking. Like one of the things that I used to say, you probably heard me say this on a previous video, when people used to say, when they found out that I worked as an engineer and I have a degree and all this good stuff, they would say things like, oh, you must be really smart. And then immediately my response would be, no, it's not that. I'm not really smart. I just work hard. You see, I began to downplay my own intelligence. I began to downplay my smartness because, truth be told, I am smart. And I'm okay with letting people know that, yes, I am smart. Does it mean that I know everything? Absolutely not. But it does mean that I recognize that I have a mental capacity to achieve becoming an electrical engineer. I have that mental capacity, and I'm not saying it from a place of, well, you're not an engineer, so that means I'm better than you. No, it's just me simply claiming and stating exactly who I am from a place of love, not from a place of arrogance, not from a place of being elitist to say that I am better. It is simply saying I love myself and I appreciate who God created me to be. Therefore, I'm not going to downplay who I am just so I don't make you feel uncomfortable, just so I don't make you think a certain way about me. Because truth be told, people are going to have or create their own judgments about you, sometimes regardless of what you say or what you do, depending on what their intentions are. And so you want to be careful about how you present yourself to other people. Like when I used to say, well, I'm not really smart, I just work hard, that put me that also allowed people to say, well, she's just a workhorse. And horses, while they are very majestic beings, they are not known for being smart. They are known for being obedient, for being told what to do, for being submissive. Right. And so when I put myself in that light, then my first impression to a lot of people is, okay, well, maybe she isn't smart. Maybe she did just get by because she's cute, or maybe she did just get by because she's Black. I actually had somebody say that to me. And part of the reason was because of how I introduced myself. So when you don't think highly of yourself and you let those words come, when you let those words come out of your mouth, then you begin to affect your own reputation. You begin to affect how people see you and how people treat you. Because if you think that you are less than, people will begin to speak down to you. People will begin to not respect you on a level that you deserve to be respected. When you're on the job, people will not give you the same level of responsibilities and the level of, I want to say, grace, really, the level of permissiveness that other people would normally get, because they think highly of themselves and they're not afraid to say it. And that's the thing about having self-confidence on a high level. When you have that confidence on a high level, you're okay. You're okay with everyone not liking you, because that's really what's going to happen. When you begin to think highly of yourself, oftentimes one or two things are going to happen. You're going to make other people uncomfortable with that, or you're going to make people be so comfortable with it that you allow them to come out of their shell and be who they are. I'm going to read this quote to you from, let me see here if I could find it again. There's a quote here from Marianne Williamson that I really love. And you guys have heard it before, but I'm going to read it to you anyway. It says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Hey, Bathsheba, thank you for joining. And so Marianne, she has summed this up is in the most beautiful way I know that I have ever seen. The reason that we shrink back from who we are, the reason that we don't think highly and speak highly of ourselves, is really because of fear. We are afraid that people will judge us. We are afraid that people will reject us. We are afraid that we won't be accepted into certain circles, into certain portions of society. We are simply afraid. And we may even be afraid that if I do say I am smart, that if I do say I am brilliant, that if I do say that I am fully capable, that what if we make a mistake and we don't live up to that level that we say that we are. We have to stop being so hard on ourselves, because it's okay if you make a mistake. It's okay that today, yeah, you may not have been as smart as you wanted to be today, but it does not take away from your overall brilliance. It does not take away from your overall intelligence. It doesn't take away from who you are, because we all have our powerful days and we all have our not so powerful days. And so, and what happens is, and that I see as well, is when we don't speak up for ourselves and claim who we really are. We say, well, I'm just a humble person. But here's the thing about humbleness. Oftentimes when people say I am a humble person, what they are really doing is shifting their perception of themselves and seeing themselves as being insignificant, as seeing themselves as being inferior, as seeing themselves as not being as good as anyone else. That is actually the definition of being humble. There's a difference between being humble and having humility. Humbleness, meaning that you are lowly, meaning that you are beneath other people. And while there is a time and place to have humble feelings, like, you may be in the presence of Jesus. Okay, yeah, we all gonna have humbleness, right? But if we are in the presence of, I'll give you an example. I remember one day I was in a room full of vice presidents, full of presidents, full of CEOs of, Fortune 200 companies, Fortune 500 companies. And here I was, just an engineer, the only engineer in the room. And everyone around me have all these executive titles, have all of these C-suite titles. They sit in the C-suite. They have a C-suite. And I was like, oh my God, like, what am I doing in this room? And how am I in the room with all these people who make all this money, who have all this, decision-making capabilities and decision-making power? And so at that moment, I felt humble, because I felt as if I was insignificant. I felt as if I was less than. But here's what happened. As people began to talk, this was a meeting I was in, as people began to talk, I realized they ain't no better than me. They have the same thoughts, the same ideas, the same struggles, the same challenges as I do. And when I realized that when I take away the titles that they had, they were all just people. We were all just on the playing field, on the same playing field. And when I realized that, I began to see myself as an equal. I began to see myself as saying we all may be different, and they may all have gotten these titles by different forms and different methods. But just because they have a different title doesn't mean that I am insignificant. It doesn't mean that I am not good enough. And so I began to speak up. I began to participate, and I began to engage, because now I was no longer inferior. I was on their level. I was just different, but I was still just as important and just as talented as they are. So that's what I mean. You don't want to think less of yourself as a habit. Okay? You do not want to think less of yourself as a habit. You want to see yourself for who you are, and then say, well, yeah, I'm in the presence of, the Queen of England or the President of the United States. So it's going to be a sense of humbleness. But in your day-to-day operation, your day-to-day movement, you want to claim who you are and walk powerfully into that. And when you do that, you are in this place of really realizing that God created you for a particular person, like for a particular purpose, for a particular season, for this season. And he gave you your gifts. He gave you your talents. He gave you your abilities. He's even given you your opportunities based on who you are, based on your talents and your gifts and all that good stuff. And so when you shrink back from that, you begin to miss the blessings. You begin to miss the miracles. You begin to miss your breakthroughs, because you are not stepping up to the plate and claiming who you are. And so, and I was having a conversation about this the other day, and we were talking about the differences between men and women and how men are encouraged on a regular basis from the time that they are children to be bold, to be unapologetic, to be, in a certain sense, egotistical, to be arrogant, to be manly, right? But women, we are taught to be demure, to be quiet, to be soft, to be humble. But the flip side of that as well is that men are not often taught to be vulnerable, to connect with their emotional side, whereas women are. And so there's no right or wrong or better than or best in these two methods, but how we are taught, how we are brought up from a young child affects how we move today. So how do we get to this place of thinking less than? We don't want to go to the extreme of thinking that we are more than what we should, because the Bible also talks about that. You find the scripture. So out of Romans 12:3, it says, "Do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the faith God has distributed to you." So you use good judgment. So how do you not think too highly of yourself, but not think too low of yourself, but use good judgment according to the faith, according to the knowledge, according to the beliefs that God has given to you? How exactly do you do that? So there are 3 things I'm going to share with you tonight, so I'm not going to keep you online long. But if you haven't already, go ahead and grab pen and paper, because you are going to want to write this down. So the first thing you must do in order to think of yourself the way you should, think higher of yourself the way you should, is to simply be you. All the time, in every situation, everywhere. But here's the key. In order to be you, you have to know you. You have to know you. Who are you? If you were to take away the titles, the roles, the responsibilities, how would you describe yourself? How would you describe your talents? How would you describe your passion? How would you describe who you are without using your titles, without using your roles? You know, oftentimes we cannot say who we are without saying, I am an engineer, or I am a doctor, I am a mother, I am a wife. It is a part of your identity, a part. But what does that really mean? So if you are a mother, how can you describe yourself without saying, I am a mother? You can say things like, I am a nurturer, I am a protector, I love giving life and I love supporting life, I love teaching and pouring into other people, which are all things that mothers do, which is a core process, a core part of who you are. I actually asked this question on social media a few weeks ago, and I got several responses about how do you really do that. So I'll share with you how I describe myself without using the titles and the roles and the responsibilities of who I am. So this is what I said. If I had to describe myself without using titles, I would describe myself as a unicorn, a unique cross between a free spirit and a nerd. I am creative and strategic. I love all things beautiful, and I see myself similar to a lake, mostly a calm body of water, life nurturing, life giving, but also a force to be reckoned with. Water moves, water flows, and the movement of water is quite beautiful. Because I know this about myself, I gravitate towards situations, people, and things that allow me to be who I was created to be, which is why I love dancing, which is a part of movement. I love living on a lake. I love coaching and teaching, which is life-giving and life-nurturing, and being an engineer, which is the creative nerd. So that's how I would describe myself without using titles. So who are you? Get clear on who you are without your titles, without your job title, without your role as a mother, as a wife, and get to the core of who you are. What are your character traits? What are your gifts and your talents? What are your likes and your dislikes? What makes you unique? And then commit to yourself to being that person every day, all day, no matter what. And I want to clarify a point here, because you also have to use good judgment too, right? Like if you know that you are a free spirit and a wild spirit, You can't go into a nursing home being all free and wild and crazy, right? Because you're going to disturb the peacefulness that is inside that nursing home. And I just use that as an extreme example, but you kind of get what I'm saying. You know, you want to, when you know who you are, you know which parts of you to bring forth when. So when you are clear on this, you can be authentically you based on the situation, based on the circumstances that you are in, so people can see all sides of you. So be who you are all the time, everywhere. That's number one. Number two is simply this: celebrate who you are. Give yourself permission to celebrate you. One thing that, especially us ambitious women, women who are corporate women, women who are entrepreneurs, women who are mothers and wives, just women in general, really, we don't take enough time to celebrate our wins. We don't take enough time to celebrate who we are and what we've come through. And I shared a video, I think I shared on Instagram today about, today's being Memorial Day. As we are celebrating our troops and the people who have served in the military, don't forget to celebrate you. Don't forget to celebrate all of the things you have come through, all of the challenges you have overcome. Because no matter how painful they were, no matter how much you lost in that moment, you are here and you can tell the story of what you went through. Right there shows that you are a conqueror. Right there shows that you are a warrior, that you are a fighter, and that you have overcome. So we have to take the time to pause and say, I am not where I was 5 years ago. Thank you. I actually made it through. Did I make it through on my own? No. It was through the Spirit of God, the power of God. It was because I had the right friends and the right support from my family. It's because I actually had access to the right resources. But because of all these individual things, I was able to overcome the very thing that was meant to destroy me. I was able to overcome the very thing that was meant to discourage me. I was able to overcome the very thing that was meant to turn me back to square one. I was able to overcome, and I am here to tell the story. Yeah, I may be a little bruised, I may be a little bloody, but baby girl, I am here. You are here and you can tell the story. So celebrate that. Celebrate your strength. Celebrate who you are. Celebrate your gifts. You have the gift of speaking. You have the gift of encouragement. You have the gift of nurturing and helping others. You have so many gifts and talents. Celebrate that and say, thank you, God, for creating me just the way I am. Thank you, God, for creating me to be such a friend to my friends. Thank you, God, for creating me to be a mother to my children. Thank you, God, for giving me the insight and the wisdom, God, to help and to lead others. Thank you, and celebrate that. And one of the things, and then the number three, leads me to number three, is to keep a record of what you do and how you show up in life. Hey, Kim, thank you for joining. One of the things that I do, and I keep forgetting to pull out my journal when I show up on live stream. One of the things that I do, and I encourage you to do, is to keep track of your wins. I have a list in my journal that says remember, always remember. And in that list, I write down all the ways that God has shown up in my life and all the wins that I had in my day, so that I'm always thinking, always forcing myself to pause and remember how good I really am. You see, it's easy for us to remember our mistakes. It's easy for us to remember our shortcomings. It's easy for us to remember all the things that we did wrong. But it's just as important for us to remember all the things that we did right, because when we remember all the things that we did right, when we remember all the ways that we've used our gifts and talents to bless somebody in today, that builds up our confidence. That helps us to think as high of ourselves as we really are, instead of thinking lower than what we really are. You have to force yourself to remember, because if you don't remember, you're always going to remember the bad things. Because for some reason, the way our human minds and our human hearts are wired, we hold on to negativity. We hold on to the bad things. You remember the painful stories from your childhood more than you remember the beautiful stories from your childhood. Usually takes pictures to trigger that remembering of your birthday party when you were 6 years old, from the time you got that teddy bear that you really wanted from Christmas. You know, it takes pictures and the retelling of stories in order to trigger those memories. But you remember the time you wanted a bike and you didn't get it. You remember the time you tried to climb a tree and you fell down and you broke your leg. You remember that. It's easy to remember the bad things, but you have to be intentional about remembering the good things in your life. So keep a record of who you are, what you do, and how you show up in life. And what you're doing is creating a personal resume. Like, act like you create a resume. You know, in a resume, you have your education level, you have your experiences, you have your talents and your special skill sets. Write a resume for who you are. And you will actually be impressed with yourself. Like, you know what? I'm pretty doggone good. Like, I don't know why I was shrinking back. I don't know why I don't speak up more. I don't know why I don't go after what it is that I want. So literally create a personal resume for who you are, what you have accomplished, and your good experience that you have, and the skills and the gifts and the talents that you have, so that you can always have a record to remember that you actually have permission to think highly of yourself than you do right now. So when you think about all of this, how does this really affect your happiness and your success and how you show up in life? It affects it two ways. The first thing is, when you know who you are, you know what you are fully capable of, you are clear that you are okay and you have permission to be authentically you all the time, you won't participate in activities and you won't go to things, or you won't volunteer for stuff that doesn't serve you, that doesn't nurture who you really are. You'll begin to naturally gravitate towards the people and the places and the environments that speak to who you really are. And then when you begin to think more highly of yourself and see you for who you really are, then you become a whole lot more selective about the people you let into your life. You begin to tolerate less disrespect. You'll have stronger boundaries in your relationships, and then you'll attract higher quality people, both personal and professional. So this is how all of this ties into your success and ties into your happiness, because when you begin to have better people in your circle, both personal and professional, when you begin to have better experiences in your life, all that stuff coupled with thinking better of yourself begins to create a happier version of your present, begin to create a happier version of your future, and you begin to feel more confident, feel more powerful, because you are so clear on who you are, and everything around you now reflects who you really are. Hey, Juanita, yes, a personal resume, a person. We are so good at keeping track of our professional successes. It's time to keep track of our personal successes. And you don't have to publish a resume anywhere. I mean, if you want to, you can, but keep it for yourself. Keep a personal resume, keep a track record of what you've accomplished, because I guarantee you, every person who's watching this video right now, you could take up how you think about yourself a couple of notches, right? There are some times I have to realize, you know what? I am a pretty doggone good coach. I am a pretty doggone good teacher. I am a pretty good friend. I am better than what I think I am. And somebody said something to me a couple of days ago. I was like, really? You know what? I think that is true. So maybe I'll add this to it as well. Maybe ask your friends. And I did this exercise a few years ago. Ask your closest friends, your closest family members, maybe 3 to 5 people who are in your circle. Ask them, what 5 words would they use to describe you? What 5 words they will use to describe you? And what you'll come to realize is the people who are closest to you see you in a higher light than you see yourself. Because we are often so used to giving and pouring out and doing for others that we don't see how what we are doing is impacting other people's lives. We don't see that how what we are doing is bringing more love, more peace, more ease into other people's lives. And so other people can see you from the outside looking in, but oftentimes we can't see ourselves because we're inside. So ask 5 people, 3 to 5 people who are closest to you, what 5 words would they use to describe you? And you'll begin to see yourself in a different light. All right, you guys, I hope that this video was a blessing to you. I hope that you can take these nuggets and begin to apply them into your life and build up your personal resume, build up your confidence, and build up your thinking so that your thinking can begin to affect your environment and the people that are around you so that you can experience more peace, more happiness, and more success in your life. All right, you guys, if this video was a blessing to you, please go ahead and hit the share button. If you have any comments or questions about anything I've said here tonight, go ahead and leave a comment below and I will respond. If you have something that you want me to address specifically to you, just send me a private message here. I do reply to my private messages as often as I can. So go ahead and send a response and I will reply to that. You're welcome, Juanita. I'm glad that this was a blessing to you. All right, you guys, enjoy the rest of your holiday today. Have a powerful week going forward, and meet me back here tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time for another Soulful Conversation. All right, you guys, have a great evening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.